Hello, everybody. As you know, I'm Professor Robert Romano. This is business law. This will be the online class for this week. Since this week, LIM, there is a career fair, and I need to be away for one of the course times. Last week, we were talking about contracts. What is a contract? And what are the elements of a contract? There are 5 elements to a contract. Cassandra, what are they? Just kidding. Offer, acceptance, consideration, legality, and capacity. You need to have every one of those elements. If you do not, or you're missing one of them, you do not have a valid contract. Okay? What about oral contracts? We kind of touched about it a little bit last week, but oral contracts are contracts. Okay. They are contracts. We make oral contracts all the time. The only problem is they're difficult to enforce because it's difficult to establish the terms. Everybody has a different recollection of what the contract was. So that's why you write them down, so everybody knows what everybody meant. But oral contracts are contracts. They are enforceable, but it is difficult to establish the terms. So if somebody sues someone for breach of an oral contract, it's difficult to find out who the parties were, what the amount was, what the terms were, that kind of stuff. Okay? Statute of frauds. This is an old term, old English term. This requires that certain contracts be in writing. All right? Oral contracts are valid contracts, but certain types of contracts must be in writing in order to be enforceable by the court. Agreements for land. What we call real property, must be in writing. So when you buy or sell a home, you buy or sell an apartment, you buy or sell a condo, those need to be in writing. Those contracts must be in writing. Also, lease agreements need to be in writing if that lease agreement is for over 1 year. Okay? So the statute of frauds requires that certain types of contracts be in writing. First one, agreement for land or real property. Second, contract for the sale of goods, which is over $500. This is under the Uniform Commercial Code, which we're not going to go into in this class. But if a good is over $500, by right, there must be a contract. Okay? And the third type of contract that is required to be in writing under statute of frauds is a contract that cannot be performed within 1 year. All right? So let's say you have a contract for an NFL player for 5 years. You contract Tom Brady for 5 years to be your starting quarterback. That contract must be in writing. It's for over 1 year. It cannot be performed within a year. It takes longer to perform that contract. So those 3 types of contracts need to be in writing under what we call the statute of frauds. Contracts for real property, contract for sale of goods over $500, and contracts which cannot be performed within a year's time. Remedies. Now, remedies are what is available when a party breaches a contract. Okay? You have a remedy, how to cure, how to fix. Okay? So remedies allow a party to be made whole in a certain sense. Okay? There are 2 types of remedies, monetary and other equitable remedies. Okay? So we're going to go over each one of both of these. So Jasmine, we're going to go over both of these, monetary and other equitable remedies. All right? So we're just going to give them to you now, and then we're going to go over them. So put them in your notes. Monetary damages, there's 3 types of monetary damages. Compensatory, consequential, and liquid damages. Okay? Monetary damages are 3 types. Compensatory, consequential, and liquid. Compensatory damages. Compensatory. What does that mean? What does that sound like? It means to compensate. Compensatory, to compensate. Intended to compensate a non-breaching party for the loss of the bargain. All right, compensatory damages are intended to compensate the non-breaching party for the loss of the bargain. places the non-breaching party in the same place as if the contract had been fulfilled. So if under the terms of the contract you were to receive $1,000 and the other party breached, compensatory damages will give you that $1,000. All right, they're putting you in the same position as if the contract had been fulfilled. All right, those are the first type of monetary damages, compensatory damages. Second type are consequential damages, or what we call, when I'm on the bench, special damages. All right, consequential damages are foreseeable damages that arise from a circumstance outside of the contract. All right, foreseeable damages that can arise from a circumstance outside of the contract. Let me put that in context for you. Let's say you have a contract for, you're going to buy suits. You're going to buy suits from a wholesaler at $150 a piece, and you're going to turn around and sell them for $200 a piece. Right? You buy 1,000 suits, you're going to make a profit of whatever, 1,000 times $50. You can see that if you do not get those suits, you're going to lose that business opportunity. You're going to lose that $50 per suit that you're going to sell. Those are foreseeable. You can see that in the future. All right, so if the wholesaler or the merchandiser breaches and doesn't provide you with the suits, you lost out on that profit. That profit was foreseeable. You're entitled to those damages. Okay? Those are consequential damages. Third type of monetary damages are what we call liquidated damages. Liquidated damages are damages that parties agree to in advance. Okay? Parties agree to in the contract itself. You'll say within the contract, if one of the party breaches, you're entitled to $500, $10,000, $100,000, whatever you think it's worth. Parties agree in advance to the amount of damages payable upon the breach of either party. Liquidated damage clauses. These are throughout sports. I do sports. Liquidated damage clauses are when a coach breaches. The coach is coaching for 5 years. He leaves and goes to another school after 2. There's a liquidated damage clause. $500,000 have to pay to buy out the contract. Why do we do this? Because it's difficult to calculate what actual damage would be. Okay? It's difficult to find out if a coach leaves after 2 years of a 5-year contract, what damage has the school entailed. We don't know, so we're just going to put a dollar figure on it that both parties think is reasonable and can agree to. Put it in the contract, so if there is a breach, the party has to pay it. Okay? So those are the 3 types of monetary damages. Compensatory, consequential, or special, and liquidated damages. There's also a term called mitigation of damages. Okay? Mitigation of damages. It's duty of the innocent or non-breaching party to take reasonable efforts to mitigate the resulting damages that will be incurred by the breaching party. All right? The non-breaching party has a duty to take reasonable efforts to mitigate the damages that could result by the breaching party. Okay? When I say mitigate, is to avoid or reduce those damages. All right? The non-breaching party has a duty to take reasonable efforts to mitigate, to avoid or reduce the resulting damage award. What does this mean? Let's say you're in a lease. You're in a 1-year lease. And you're paying $1,000 a month on your lease. After the 3rd month, you decide you want to go live with somebody else, and you leave the premises, and there's $9,000 still owed on that lease. 9 months times $1,000. The landlord just can't sit there and wait for that year to expire. No. The landlord has a duty to make reasonable efforts to lease or lease that apartment again to someone else. Okay? So that landlord has to take reasonable efforts to reduce the resulting damages. The landlord just can't come after you for that $9,000. No. If after 2-3 months, let's say 3 months, he gets a renter in there, he can only sue you for those 3 months that he missed. That'd be $3,000. All right, can't go after the entire 9. All right, does that make sense? You have a duty to mitigate your damages. You just can't sit by and watch time go by and keep adding up. Make sense? All right. The second types of damages are equitable damages. All right, these are non-monetary. They're just equitable. They're non-monetary. All right. There are 4 types: specific performance, injunction, reformation, and what we call quasi-contract. Again, Jazz, we're going to go over all 4 of these in detail. I'm just giving you what they are right now. Their equitable damages are 4 types: specific performance, injunction, reformation, and quasi-contract. Specific performance. What does that mean? What does it sound like? You have to perform. All right? A court orders the breaching party to perform the acts promised under the terms of the contract. All right? The court will order you to do something. If you contracted for it, you made a promise to do it within the terms of the contract, and then you say you're not going to do it, no, the court can order you to do it. Let's say, a good example of this is if you contract to sell a house. All right, the person goes through getting a mortgage, doing the inspection, and then they say, I don't want to sell it. No, you had a contract. You had a contract. They went out and got a mortgage. They went out and got an inspection. No, the court will force you to sell that property. Okay? Same thing like if you go, our example in class with the artwork. If you go out and buy an expensive piece of art or contract to buy an expensive piece of art, exclusive, right? You can't just get it anywhere. The court will order you to sell that piece of art if you contract to sell it. Okay? So the specific performance means the court will order a party, the breaching party, to do something. That's something that they promised to do under the terms of the contract. Injunction is the exact opposite. The court prohibits a party from performing a certain act. All right? The court prohibits you from doing something. All right? So let's say, let's keep it in a real estate environment. Let's say you lease an apartment, but you haven't moved in yet. And you lease it for $1,000 a month. You sign the contract. You sign the lease agreement. The next day, the landlord goes to rent it to another person because they want to pay him $1,200 a month. No, you can get an injunction stopping the landlord from leasing that to that other person. All right, you had a valid contract. You were willing to perform under that contract. You can stop the landlord from leasing it to somebody else. And it's called an injunction. The requesting party must show irreparable harm, however. All right, in our context, the person can't get into that apartment. That could be considered irreparable harm. Okay, so if I ask you on the quiz, does a party need to show irreparable harm in order to get an injunction? True. Fair enough. All right, the third equitable damage award is a thing called reformation, which I've never used as a judge, nor have I seen anybody use. But it was in your book, your textbook, that I know you're all reading along with as we go through this course. Reformation is the equitable doctrine that permits a court to rewrite a contract to express the party's true intentions. All right? It's an equitable doctrine that permits a court to rewrite a contract to express the party's true intentions. I've never done it. I'll make rulings on it. I'll never rewrite anybody's contract. It's their contract. But there is a equitable doctrine out there that says courts can do this. It's called reformation. And the fourth equitable damage award are quasi-contracts. What this means is the court is permitted, the courts can permit the recovery of compensation even though no enforceable contract exists. All right, and that contract may not exist for different reasons. It may be lack of consideration, it may be violation of statute of fraud, something like that. But the courts, under certain terms, will see a contract and enforce it. All right? Why? Because the other side will be unjustly enriched. All right? So we don't want that to happen. We don't want one side taking advantage of the fact that the contract wasn't valid for whatever reason. Courts could look beyond it and say, no, I see where a contract was created. You benefited from it. They didn't get the benefit of their bargain. I'm going to see the contract and give both sides the benefit that they contracted for or should have contracted for properly. Okay? Contract provisions. Now, what I wanted to do on Thursday, if I was here, we would have gone over different contracts, but I may post some, but I just want you to think about different contract provisions. What needs to be in a contract? The parties. All right, you need to explicitly put who the parties are in a contract. All right, what their duties and responsibilities are. What is somebody going to do? What's their obligations? What are they giving up? What are they taking under the terms of this contract? That's the consideration. The compensation. Is there payment? How much? When is it going to be paid? How long is this contract enforced for? Is it for 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years? How do we get out? Is there a termination clause? If some party breaches, is there a liquidated damages clause? And are there any restrictive covenants or covenant not to compete? Okay, so I'm going to contract provisions. So if I ask you on the quiz and they give me 3 contract provisions, equal parties, duties, and payment, fine. Okay, that's all we have for today. I'll see you guys next week. Enjoy the time getting a job or going to the career fair. Good luck. Any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.